all know, we've come today for a launch of the book Madam Sir by the respected Manjari Daruhar ma'am. It's a great privilege and honor to have known ma'am. I had met ma'am recently with the National Conference of Women Police Officers in Shimla. So I take it a great privilege to welcome ma'am today. Welcome ma'am. I request our respected DJ and IT sir to kindly welcome ma'am on behalf of 1%.
It's indeed a pleasure to welcome Mrs. Manjari Jaruhar, ma'am for us, and welcome all of you after we launch this 40.
Madam sir.
Yes. So in fact I want to welcome especially all of you because this is probably the first event, literary event which we are holding in this newly renovated sporty, what we call sporty, earlier it used to be Senior Police Officers Mess. Just to introduce Mrs. Manjari Jaruhar, we all know, many of us know 1976 batch, Bihar cadre, worked in NPA, CISF, CRPF and retired as Special DG in 2010. She is the first woman IPS officer from Bihar and she carries a reputation of highly effective, professional and caring officer. And in the words of Mr. Ribeiro, a good human being, just to quote Julius Ribeiro. After retirement, she headed anti-piracy wing of Indian music industry. Now she is with TCS as well as with FICCI, FICCI. Married to Rakesh, a fellow batchmate of her. And here we welcome Mrs. Manjari Jaruhar once again, and I am with all of you. In fact, when I invited ma'am for launch of this book, she said, why don't we invite the 85 to 90 batch officers? I said, why 85 to 90 alone? You have been a role model for generations, not only for lady officers, but generations of officers. So I am so glad, particularly happy to see not only IPS officers, IAS officers, their spouses, among all of us. So that's where, so I special thanks to Mr. ISN Prasad and Chief Secretary Mrs. Vandita Prasad Chet. She will also be joining very soon. So, starting this conversation, ma'am, officers usually wait for their retirement to write a book because there are so many controversial things in the book that they feel that if they write while in service, they'll offend so many people. So everyone waits for retirement and then they write the book. You waited for 12 years. Why that long?
As I've written in my preface, but before I talk about the book, I'd really like to thank Praveen for organizing this session. I was extremely touched and really felt what should I say, connected with probationers, which we have always felt throughout our career. It was a very big thing for me personally to be teaching at the police academy and looking after or training batch, IPS batches from 85 to 90. We'll talk about it later. But we have always tried to stay connected with them wherever I have gone. I've always contacted them. I was extremely touched when he said, when he rang me up and said that he would like to organize a get-together, an event at the mess, and he'll invite everybody. So first I'd like to thank him and I'd like to thank everybody who has come. Now to start the session and to talk about why I wrote the book, it was mostly because of my brother, as I have acknowledged. He is now the chairperson of Ashoka University and the first dean of ISP. So he is into this pursuit. So he went after me, nahi likho, तुमको लिख देना चाहिए, and he tried to persuade me. So I made a feeble attempt in 2011-12, but I had no intention of writing a book. And I did not preserve any diary or any of my notes or whatever we have in the police, or even the inquiry reports or whatever I had inquired into. After my retirement, we just remove everything. Let's finish everything now. Let's have another beginning. So I had nothing, and he persuaded. I tried to write, but it somehow did not work, and I gave it up. But during the pandemic, I was stranded in Patna with my mother, and again he persuaded me, and then this time both my sons joined. And they started saying that, Amma, please write because everything will be forgotten. At least write it for our own daughters. Both of them have a daughter each. So उनके लिए तो एक record रहेगा. So I then again started writing, and that's how I wrote after. How many years did you say for me? 12 years after my retirement.
Because when I was reading through the book, I didn't find anything controversial which will hurt anyone. It's basically journey of your life, journey of your professional and personal life. So having said that, I take your permission to read a paragraph. This is about the first day when you landed in your district posting. I think that's a historic day. So I just take the liberty. It was a cold December morning in 1977. I woke up early and lay in the bed in my parents' home in Patna. Was I nervous? Excited? I think a bit of both. It was a fresh new beginning, the beginning of my life on duty. I put on my new uniform, a smart khaki ensemble that I loved, shirt tucked into trousers, a sweater, then a crossbelt across my uniform, a peak cap, and shoes that shone and winked at me. I looked into the mirror. A young, determined officer looked back at me. My mother came into the room to check on me. She looked surprised, even a little bemused. It was the first time she was seeing the elder daughter in khaki. Very nice, she smiled. And then you mentioned that I was ready for active police duty. I was first ushered into the office of EIG administration, Mr. Kailash Pati, who gave me some paperwork to complete. He asked me rather curious questions. Why I had joined the police? Did I not know it was a tough job? Would I be able to do work in the night shifts? After waiting for a while, it's very interesting. After waiting for a while, I was asked to go and meet IG, Mr. Rajeshwar Lal. I entered the room and executed a sharp salute. I was in awe of him and wanted to make a good impression. After the salute, I stood at attention, waiting for his instructions. He said nothing. And the second stepped by. He didn't even look up but continued to write in the file. After a long moment of silence, he finally looked up. He did not ask me who I was. He already knew. Oh, you have come. He took one look at me and went straight back to his file. But I don't know what to do with you. I cannot post you until I study the file of Mrs. Kiran Bedi. I have asked for it from Delhi. Ma'am, how did you feel at that particular moment? The first moment of your official duty. What was running in your mind?
I was very disappointed, as Praveen has read in the book, that I went with all the excitement, you know. All of you must have, some of you who are IPS officers must have felt that when you are in your crisp uniform and you report for the first time in the state, you think that you are at the top of the world and you are ready to conquer the world. Cross belt hair, everything is there, your peak cap is there, your shoes are all shining because you want to make an impression on the DG. And here when I arrived, he doesn't even look up. But when I arrived at the secretariat, I would like to read that. As I climbed out of my father's car, I could feel many pairs of eyes on me, following me as I walked up the stairs. I was possibly the only woman in trousers there. The staff in the IG's office stopped their work and stared. I tried to block out the curious glances. This feeling of being like a fish in a glass bowl was to become my constant companion wherever I went in uniform in the days to come. Some of you maybe are here from Bihar and you know the Patna Secretariat. It's a huge cavernous building. And when I'm getting there, down there is like your Vidhan Sauda and all. So many windows, and from every window people are looking at me. Now I'm feeling more elated. अरे हम तो first woman IPS officer होके आ रहे हैं. I'm sorry, I'm using Hindi also together so that it becomes the way it was. Then when I arrive and the DG says nothing to me, I really felt very, very disappointed. Extremely disappointed and dejected. And then I just marched out thinking, what is it that has to be done about Kiran Bedi's file? But I would like to admit that I am in service only because of Mrs. Kiran Bedi, as I have written in the book. My father had no intention of me joining the IPS. He thought that this job was not meant for me. It was only one of his uncles who was a DG of, who was in those days the IG of police, Mr. Palasso would know, there were only IGs in those days. who came and persuaded my father कि आपने देखा नहीं है Kiran Bedi is on the Rajpath, she is marching on 26 January parade. Why aren't you sending her? That's how I joined the police. Otherwise, my father was not ready. So, but still, I was wondering why Kiran Bedi's file. She is in Delhi, I am in Patna. Felt totally dejected, and because the orders for everybody else was issued by that evening. There were 6 batchmates who went to Bihar. Orders were issued for 5, but for me the orders were not issued.
So I want to
I
ask
was
you.
crushed.
Yeah.
I was crushed. As I stepped off his office, I shivered again. This time it was from the frosty welcome I had just received. So that was my first day on the job. But in your career, as in life, there is always the next day and the day after that. I brushed off my initial disappointment like a speck of dust on my new uniform. It is this ability to look past hurdles and hiccups that has held me in good stead throughout my career. In that moment, I wanted to focus on what an honor it was to be the first woman IPS officer of Bihar Police. This is my story. So this is what I felt, that crushed everything, but I said it's okay, let's wait, maybe tomorrow will be another day. Like Scarlett O'Hara says in Gone with the Wind, so many ladies are here, they would have all read, people are smiling. She says tomorrow is another day, and I thought yes, tomorrow will be another day.
So I want to ask you something. You left service after 34 years. How
Yes.
has the situation changed? What's your assessment? Vis-a-vis lady officers.
I think the situation has changed quite a bit. Before I joined, there were only 1 woman officer in every batch. We started with Kiran Bedi. Next year there was Kanchan Chaudhary, or more, she became DG of Uttarakhand, but unfortunately she is no more. 73 also we had 1 lady officer. 74 also we had 1 lady officer. And then 75, my colleague and esteemed friend Jija Hari Singh came, and she was there in 75, again 1. And in my batch there were 6 lady officers.
No, but the attitude of senior officers.
But the attitude, I think, in many states, after I have written this book also, I get a lot of feedback. I was at the National Police Academy also for 5 years, and I had lady officers coming in. Wherever lady officers went as the first in that state, they had the same problem as me. They were all pushed back. They were not accepted. But today, I think the situation has changed, and I'm sure Praveen would like to shed some light on this, that Karnataka itself has so many lady officers. It is in fact the preferred destination for many married couples. Women have preferred to come to Karnataka than to go somewhere else. And in Bihar and in Jharkhand, by the time I left Jharkhand, we had 9 lady officers there, and the acceptability is much better. Some people do have problems, but I think all male officers also may be having problems once in a while. We have to face whatever is coming our way, but definitely the pushback is not there. The pushback is not there. If you are ready to work, people are, the politicians or the powers that be are ready to accept you and move ahead.